Hello?
Yeah, live, and then a little fire emoji, because I do love a little fire emoji.
I'm just going to post in the Lamentable Library Discord.
Let everybody know. And yeah, hello, and welcome back to Lamentable Library. I'm really excited. I know that sounded like really formal and stuff, but I'm very excited.
I am super excited. I feel like it's been a long time since we've done a live, but also because you really liked this, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it, and I just feel like what a change of pace for us to be able to discuss a book that we both liked.
Yeah, that was basically my first thought. I think I was maybe 3 or 4 chapters in, and I was like, I have positive things to say. What a crazy turn of events. Because, yeah, I can't even remember what the last live stream was. I think it was Tall Bones.
Yeah, I think so.
Which was an interesting live anyway, because we weren't fans. But, like, I didn't hate it until we started discussing it with Becca. And then the more Becca was like, but that's really problematic. And I hated that. And I was like, oh, yeah, same. That was the worst.
It just gets worse.
Here for the spoiler-free part. Yes, would absolutely recommend read this one. So I think we will. I'll put banners up as we go when we have spoilers and non-spoilers, because there are many things to discuss. Having said that, I was going to tab this one, and as you can see, I got maybe 20 pages in and then just got distracted and started reading it. Stop tabbing. I will take these tabs out because that's kind of ugly, just the way it is. If it was all over, it would be fine, but that's sad. Look how sad that is.
I mean, I read the first. I get that like you got a little chunk in and then you were like, I'm just going to read it now. Because I started it, I think, on the 2nd of January, and I was really proud of myself. Possibly the 1st of January. I don't know. I started it really early in January. Sorry, I need a second. What do you want?
For anyone, I'm laughing at the way Kelly just spoke to her husband. That was amazing. What do you want?
I didn't mean it to come out like that.
No, I loved it. I was here for that. What do you want? You were so polite to me as well. You're like, give me a minute. What do you want? Loved it.
Yeah, I started it really early in January, and I read like 30 pages, and I was like, oh, this is good. Like, enjoying it. Didn't pick it up again until this week when I was like, oh, I need to read it, and then read the rest of the book in 2 sittings.
Mm-hmm.
And was just like, this is so. When I picked it up again to go, oh, I really need to finish it before we do the live, the first maybe 40 pages were like, I was like, okay, I am enjoying this, but I'm reading this because I need to read it. Mm-hmm. And then I just hit a point where I just read, and then was like, oh, I really don't want to go to sleep. And then the next night stayed up until like 1 to finish it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's it. And I was the same. So I read this in January. I was just patting myself on the back, everyone who's watching. I actually managed to read it in the month it was set. That's never happened before. I usually wait until like 2 days before the live stream and then go, oh shit, need to get that done. But I was house sitting by myself in the middle of nowhere. And the house that I was staying in had this massive garden, and I was starting to freak myself out with it, which is, I think, the sign of a good book, when it starts to impact your day to day. But I think also the fact that I was in this house by myself didn't help. But it was just so spooky. So what I will ask you then is, what rating did you give it? And if you were going to compare it to another book, like if you were going to give it a comp title, what comp title would you go with?
I think I gave it a 4. It started feeling like it would be a 4, and then about halfway through I thought it might be a 5, and then when I finished it I decided it was actually a 4.
That's fair.
I don't know what I would compare it to. I don't read a lot of horror.
Okay.
I feel like the only like ghost story that I can remember reading in recent years is The Woman in Black. Which it has similarities, I guess, in that it's a ghost story in a house. Mm-hmm. I like horror, like love horror movies, in theory, really like horror books, just never read them.
That's interesting, considering this was your book club and it's all like horror is a large chunk of gothic. Like,
well, that was why I started it, because I was like, this is a genre that I want to read, but I just never do. So now I can force myself to read it.
It is like the perfect excuse for it, to be fair. And I completely agree with you about, for me, it was very nearly a 5. I feel like there are things that we'll discuss in the spoilery bit that it was so close. It was so close. But I'm also like you in the fact that the last few proper ghost stories that I read were classics. So I feel like it's very, very turn of the screw. Like, I feel like the vibe of like a truly gothic classic ghost story is very similar to Horrid. I don't know if I have any modern comparisons that I can make, except maybe Mexican Gothic, which gave me the same vibe of, yes, it was written in the last 5 years, but it absolutely understands what a gothic ghost story is. Do you know what I mean? And that classic, it very much feels like a classic vibe because of the way it's written, which I was here for.
I did read one other horror last year. I forgot.
Go on.
Well, I read The Lost Girl. I read The Lost Girl, which was very good. Would recommend. But yeah, I don't know. I would consider them similar. They're somewhat similar, but just in the sense that this has horror tropes, and that is literally the point of that is that it plays with horror tropes. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I'm trying to think, because I've got a couple of questions that we were asked on Discord, and I've got a couple of other questions as well that I want to ask, but I am worried that they are in spoiler territory. So I might start with some of the general like themes of the book rather than giving plot points away. So obviously in this one, yes, it's a ghost story, but mental health plays like a really interesting theme in this and comes up quite a bit. How did you feel about the way it was incorporated in the story? Did you think it was authentic? Did you like it? Like things like that.
Can I just say?
Go on.
I feel like whenever I host, I'm just like, did you like the book? What did you think? And then you come in with like proper reading literacy questions. And to be honest, I don't feel like I have reading literacy.
Oh.
What I'm saying is that your questions make me feel stupid.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was not my intention at all. Oh, that was like, I always feel like I need to be prepped. I feel like I need to, because like there's one thing doing like a read along where you're part of a series and you're picking out like individual bits, and it doesn't matter if you miss something this week because you can always pick it up like next month or whatever. Whereas when you're talking about a book in like a book club setting, I feel like I need to ask book club type questions, but also the teacher in me is like, let's break it down, like let's discuss, you know. So I don't intend to make you feel stupid. I'm sorry.
It's good. Sorry, my lighting is annoying me. It is a good thing, because do I want to be analysing books meta? Yes, absolutely. Do I want to be made to think about these things? Yes. I just don't. But yes, mental health. I enjoyed the way it was explored.
Olivia agrees with me. It's definitely me being in teacher mode rather than you and your intelligence. You are very intelligent. I agree.
Thank you, Olivia. It wouldn't be me on a stream if I wasn't having stupid technical difficulties that could have been sorted out before the stream started.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Mental health situation. That is my favorite kind of like horror thriller situation, is when you genuinely can't tell if something supernatural is actually happening or if the person's just crazy. So like anytime that I'm so scared of giving spoilers. Like anytime that like something would happen and then it would seem a second later that things had gone back to normal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what's really funny? Because I don't have my cat here. My cat is not in Banbury. I had to leave him in Folkestone, and I literally left him today and felt really sad. And I was like, what's going to be really, really sad is that he's not going to interrupt any of our live streams. And then Asriel rocked up and was like, don't worry, I got you.
My laptop is on 2 books, so there's like there is a lot of space where it's not being supported, and that was the part of it that he jumped onto. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. Yes, I enjoyed that aspect of it. That the whole way, I was like, I have to, for my own enjoyment, I have to believe that there really is something supernatural going on here. But then every time something happened, even everything that was pointing to it being something supernatural made me believe more that it wasn't supernatural.
Yeah, because it's the stuff that happens in the house and outside of it, and I completely agree. And considering I was like, I don't have any modern comparisons I could make, one modern comparison that I would make with regards to like the mental health side of things versus supernatural is The Murder of Graham Catton. Because the whole time with that novel as well, you don't know what is real, what is supernatural, and what is just in the main character's head. And it makes for a really unreliable narrator, but not in an unlikable way. Like, it's not to the point where I'm like, I'm irritated by Jane and Ruth. It's more that I don't know what it is that they are experiencing is true or not. Is it someone messing with them? Is it them imagining certain things? Is it just the onslaught of change? Like, is it all these things? Or is the house actually coming for them? And I really like that kind of ambiguity. I like a book where I'm like, because I am so bad. If I read a mystery, I want to work it out. I want to know the answer. And if I get to the end and I don't feel like I've earned the answer, if it's handed to me, that pisses me off. Like, there are so many like Agatha Christie's where it's like, oh, it was this person all along. And I'm like, but you didn't give us any heads up that was going to be the case. Like, you gave us nothing. Or others where they're like, don't forget to look in that box. And it's like so obvious that it goes the other way. I like that sweet spot in the middle where it's just ambiguous enough you're not sure, but also is there a supernatural element? Like, is there, like, I love all of that. And yeah, Olivia, I would absolutely recommend this book for you because I think even writing style wise, I really, really liked it. I like that it's a very easy YA horror and it doesn't feel like a constant, because this is something I was saying the other day, slightly related but not really. Someone posted on Twitter about how they write horror for kids, and sometimes people are a bit anti-horror for kids, but the great thing about horror for kids is that you have to work on pacing and you have to work on tension, and it has to work because they cannot rely on just brutal murder jump scares. And what I liked about this one is I did feel tense. There was tension the whole way through because we're questioning things, right? And because things are happening. My one thing about this is I feel like it could have been a novella, and that is the one thing that kind of brought it from a 5 stars down to a 4 stars, is there were loads of moments outside of the house that I was just kind of like, I just don't care. And I appreciate that a lot of this happens like over a weekend, so they are kind of like stuck in the house and they need to leave the house to kind of explore the mystery a bit more. But I just kind of was like, I feel like you could have done that quicker. I didn't need all of that extra stuff. So that was kind of what brought it down for me. But I think that was also in its favor because it allowed you to like process the story at a more even pace and just generally feel really tense. Yeah. Go give us something. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I agree with you that it could have been a novella, but I think I would have either liked it to have been a novella or I would have been happy with it being like 50 pages longer because I quite enjoyed all of the extra stuff that was possibly unnecessary. I think I could have enjoyed the book equally as much if it wasn't there, which is why I'm like, it would be fine if it was a novella. But I did enjoy it and I'm happy it was there, and I just felt like I would have liked more time and stuff at the end.
Time and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put the banner because Danny has asked us a question and we've got a couple more questions that are on the Discord, but I'm just going to put the spoiler banner for anyone else who joins us because I feel like at this point there really isn't much more we can say without going into detail. So I do understand if people will decide to drop out at this point because this is where it's going to get spoilery. So the first thing then, what did you guys think about the, for the lack of a better word, vagueness of the mum's communication? I couldn't decide whether it was annoying or not. I found it
absolutely annoying.
hella annoying. Yeah. Yeah, hella annoying. Like, for sure. Because I feel like I understand. Okay, so there's two sides to this coin for me. I totally understand her keeping secrets, because a lot of what she then reveals later, and I am still just waiting in case anyone drops out, what she reveals later is not only crucial to the plot, but crucial to her trauma and how she responds to stuff, right? So she has lost a child at a very young age. So it's a case of, I feel like I've just done it in Olivia's tone here. Hi, Olivia. Bye, Olivia. I feel like dealing with that is really intense, and the family dynamic that she's had with her mother is not one of communication. So I absolutely believe she would be terrible at communicating. Did it bother me that Jane had to find out so much because Ruth just wouldn't tell her what was going on? Yeah, absolutely, that bothered me.
And also just the situations. Yeah, like I fully understand her not telling her everything. And like you say, like it was her stuff. So like fine, it's valid that she gets to reveal what she wants to reveal in her own time. I really didn't enjoy the conversations that they had. I didn't feel like they were well written, where her mom was trying not to tell her things. Especially because I feel like it is kind of, aside from the fact that her mom has kept this massive secret from her, like they do seem to have a good relationship where they can talk about most things. And then all of the conversations relating to the secrets felt very like stilted, but not in a way that felt natural because her mom was trying to keep secrets, just in a way that felt like, even if you, yes, sorry, Danny, the comment that Danny just made, she was just like straight up gaslighting her child the whole way through this book.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, I don't want to talk about it. Just pure gaslighting.
Yeah. And yeah, that was my, like, it definitely irked me, because like I felt like the initial chapters kind of painted them as Rory and Lorelai Gilmore, but like darker, right? It was kind of like, oh, we're a mother-daughter duo, we're out here on our own. And what was really interesting to me is the way Jane was responding to her father, because one, she kept referring to him by his like first name, which I found really bizarre, and like it's distancing language, right? But also I get the impression that she was really close with her dad, and it was a personal betrayal to her, not just as a daughter, but like through that bond they had, that he let her down. She took that really personally. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like there were moments where Ruth was trying to be closer to her daughter because now she could be, because by the sounds of things, her entire childhood was her mum dealing with this background trauma and her dad compensating for it. So when the dad passes away, there's no one to compensate for it. But the things that bothered me was like when they were in the cafe and the doctor was like, oh my God, you really look like her. And she's like, look like who? And her mom's like, nobody. It's like, no, like you, okay, fair enough, he shouldn't have said anything. But that is not the moment where you shut that down, right? Like, even if she's like, we'll talk about it later, but then actually talk about it later, or explain why you are not prepared to talk about it. Because there were so many moments where that whole thing didn't need to be miscommunication. She didn't need to find out through some random girl at school that she actually had a sister. Like, that shouldn't have happened. She should have found out from her mom. So it was like, yeah. So yeah, I absolutely agree. The way the mother and daughter felt so close, almost like friends at the start, was really nice, but that did exactly, it just didn't follow through. And I feel like part of that is Katrina Leno needed to build up mystery, but it was almost, she was trying to hide too much towards the end. And like you said, there could have been an extra 50 pages after she'd found out what had happened. I really enjoyed how many tropes there were, though. Like, I enjoyed that there's a prom, and I enjoyed that there's like the creepy house and like all the stereotypes and stuff like that, and the cute boy in the bookshop. Like, I loved all that bullshit. That was great. But I just felt like, it needed another 50 pages. But I can also absolutely see why that dramatic ending. because it was so like creepy.
I have another thing I want to say about the mom, but yeah, then we can talk about the ending again. Also, like the fact that she did this, like I understand that she was like, oh, you know, we can't, like we have no money, we're destitute, we're gonna have to go and live in this house, but like they could have, she could have tried to pursue other options, but instead she chose to take her daughter back to that house that she knew that she couldn't live in, and then became an extremely absent mother in addition to keeping secrets from her. So she was like, oh, I'm just going to take a part-time job where I'm going to work half days and then I'm going to stay at work until 6 in the evening every day because I don't want to be in my house that I brought us to. Like, she made all of the choices and then decided that she couldn't live with them and made her daughter live with them instead.
Yeah, and I think no, you're absolutely right. And I think it was like there was a couple of chapters in the middle where Jane's like, yeah, I haven't seen my mom for like 3 days. And I was like, what? Like, you're actively avoiding this place that you've chosen, right? And it's cold, it's dreary, and Jane doesn't know anyone there. Ruth is the one that knows everyone. Ruth has so much power, and it's not just that she's avoiding the house, she's almost avoiding her daughter in the house because of the associations she has with it. And again, like I completely understand why that might be your choice of action. Don't agree with it though. And I don't think I could have written a different way that it would have worked. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to circumnavigate that thing I don't like. I don't know if I have a solution to that problem, which as a writer, that's kind of, if I'm reading something and I can think of a better way of going, that will affect how I rate it anyway, just because of who I am. Whereas if I can't, I'm kind of more likely to accept it. I'm more likely to accept her mother's behavior because I can't think of a way that you could get to the ending that way without it. Now, the creepy flowers, we'll get to the ending at the end, I think, because otherwise I'm going to lose where I'm at with the story. So they arrive in Maine. We've already got set up the mental health stuff. And I know we briefly, like, we spoke about this like in the non-spoilery bit, but I want to talk about the spoilery stuff in particular because the way Pika is almost hereditary to that family is really interesting to me. And the fact that her older sister also ate things she shouldn't eat, but was encouraged to, where her mum and her weren't, was really interesting to me. The fact that it's all on that side of the family, I thought was really interesting. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it is a hereditary mental illness, but I liked that kind of link between all of the women on that side.
Yeah. And also just like that she has severe anger issues, and like I think that was what made the Are Things Real or Is She Just Crazy even more real for me, was because when she was outside of those creepy situations, you could see that she had problems, which made it even more believable when she was in the creepy situations that she could just be imagining things, because clearly something is imbalanced in her brain. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the mental health situation. And also, it had kind of like, I don't know what it is about just like creepy mother-daughter generational women things that just adds to gothic stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just because it's quite a powerful like familial relationship in general, because I feel like mothers tend to fall into two tropes. They are either incredibly nurturing or they're just not. And there is no grey in between. And I feel like what we see in Horrid is a mother who really wants to be nurturing. She wants to be there for her daughter, but she's never experienced that herself. She's only ever witnessed it as a third party. You know, she has had she had anger issues as well, is what I find really interesting, because she finds all that stuff. And Priscilla has put about drawing the conclusion that the other child was her aunt. The whole way through, I was like, oh, it's going to be her aunt. It's going to be like her sister or whatever. And then when she assumed it was her aunt, I was like, that won't be the right answer then. We've still got 100 pages to go. Like, that can't be it. So I did believe it up until then. And I could absolutely believe that the mother had anger issues and those were perpetuated by the fact that she had this younger sister who was the perfect child. The fact that it was her, mistake that then became the perfect child must have been like, that's such a kick in the teeth. Imagine like your parents being so hard on you that you rebel, you then get pregnant, and your parents are more okay with the child you had by accident than you. Like, that is like so traumatic. So I did believe that. But like, again, making a Gilmore Girls reference, that mum is so the mum out of Gilmore Girls, just being like, no, it's all about appearances, it's all about behavior, and you've got to be nice and dress nicely and all that sort of stuff. I was just like, what a creepy mum.
I mean, it is literally the same. Like, their daughter fell pregnant really young, and they were like, oh, this is terrible, this is a stain on the family, but also now we have a chance to make this one what we wanted her to be. Because like, that is exactly how the grandparents are with Rory. They're like, oh, we can make you into like the perfect little socialite that your mother was supposed to be.
Yeah, Emily, that's it. Couldn't remember her name. Was struggling. And reminds you of Abuela from Encanto. I think, again, like when we're talking about that trope of like mothers that aren't nurturing, there are those mothers that, rather than kind of communicate with their kids as to why they want them to be a certain way, they just keep pushing until the image of the child that they are looking for, which is so incredibly toxic. But we look for toxicity in our horror/gothic book, because otherwise it would be boring. So, excellent work.
I feel like I'm still confused as to why the grandmother wanted that. Like, so timeline-wise, the mother would have grown up, like in the 80s? And it doesn't, I mean, apart from the fact that they live in like a big old house, which kind of hints at family money, it doesn't seem like their family was like of particularly high standing, like in the community. And I find it weird that she had this intense fixation with having like this perfect little child in frilly dresses and like Mary Jane shoes, that like ideal that kind of came from, that feels like it came from like a century before.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think, Danny described it pretty well in that the gran isn't really fully fleshed out. So it just hints at, and I think that's why we have all those stereotypes of, I just really wanted a girly daughter kind of thing. And those kind of stereotypes in the way that she pushes, for example. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. So is there anything else about like the family dynamic that you want to add? Because for me, it was just, there are so many books that I've got downstairs that have that kind of grandmother-daughter dynamic that kind of works in a very set way. That I feel like it is comparable, but I don't know if I've got any more to add on it.
I can't think of any.
Because I thought it was really interesting. This is such a feminine-centric horror as well, because there aren't really, except the boy that she meets in the coffee shop, there aren't really any male like characters, not just kind of set dressing, you know, like there's the boy that like breaks into her house with that bully, whose name I've also, this is the one problem of actually reading the book when it was due, is I forget everyone's name by the time to actually reviewing it. But like all of the people she talks to, everyone she really engages with, it's all a very feminine perspective, which I thought was quite interesting.
Can we talk about Danny's comment? But then I want to talk about the boy from the bookshop.
Which one? The
town knows, but that also was just, and then her friends were like, oh, we just thought that you wouldn't want to talk about it. Like, no, someone absolutely would have said something. Even the bully, I think her name's Melanie, like, she hates her so much, and is perfectly happy to say things like, you know, your family ruined my life, but never why. Like, she didn't slip and say something.
No,
it felt like up until the point that we found out exactly what had happened, it felt almost more insidious to me. It felt like the town had got together and decided to keep this secret from her, which I don't know why they would have done that, but that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely see that. Or if it was like, actually, it's like a town secret. Like, imagine if it was more that actually the child was sacrificed to something. Like, I've watched Supernatural recently, and there's one where like the whole town gets in on like some sacrificial thing. I could have believed that, even in the context of all of this, especially if they were actually setting her up to be the next one. And Melanie was annoyed because it should have been her, like some shit like that. Like, absolutely could have believed it. It felt really convenient that everyone knew and she didn't. And it felt really convenient the way they reacted about it. Because I can absolutely believe girls getting to know her, waiting until she says something.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you were like, oh, I don't want to go in that house. Someone died there once and it became like a massive thing here. Can we stay at mine instead? Like, at the very least, that would be the conversation, right? Like, I feel like it would come up at least a little bit.
And yeah, like I believe that her friends didn't say anything, but I just don't believe that everyone, like that the guy at the diner, at some point, even if we didn't get told about it, surely she went back to the diner or like saw a doctor or like some random person that her mom hadn't spoken to would have said something.
She's at school like all day. Like, surely someone would say something. Surely.
All of these teachers that knew her mom, that would have known this child, even if only like from a distance.
Yeah. No. didn't believe it. Too convenient. And yeah, I think towns like that, I mean, that is the stereotype, isn't it? That like small towns know everything. You can't keep secrets. Otherwise, Pretty Little Liars wouldn't have had like 8 seasons.
And it is like, it's not just a thing that people know. It is like a famous town thing that like everyone still cares about 20 years later.
Because the house is still hella creepy.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay, can we talk about the boy in the bookshop, please?
Yes.
Because while I liked him, was happy that he was there, he felt very unnecessary to me. And this was another thing where I'm like, it should have been shorter or it should have been longer, because he was there just enough that I liked him, but I felt like he didn't really do anything, that everything he did could have been performed by a different character. It felt like there were too many secondary characters. So like all of the things that he did, like the way that he was involved in the reveal at the end, that could have come from either of her two friends.
Yeah.
But instead, I needed to split my caring and split my getting to know people across 3 people, and it ended up with me not really getting to know any of them.
Like, too many names, don't care, sorry. No, I completely agree. And I think it felt like, because he comes in quite early, and it gives her a reason to get out of the house, right? Because she's like flirting with this boy and working in this coffee shop. So I could understand from that point, but it was just another one of those things where it was like, it's very convenient that the boy you're talking to about getting a job is also hella cute and also knows, like, he was really sweet. He was really like sympathetic and was just like, yeah, like, let me know when you get home safe. Like, I'll drive you home, like all that sort of stuff, like really lovely. I kind of wanted something, and this is going to sound really dark, I kind of wanted something super dramatic to happen to him, because the fact that it happened to Melanie, fine, because that was twisted. But I was like, you're doing something to make me care about this boy. Now he's either got to kiss her or die. And neither of those things happened. So I was kind of like, so you've made me care about someone to pass the time? I don't know.
Because even, like you said, so he functioned to like help her get out of the house, but it was her friend's parents' bookshop. So like her parents could have worked there during the day and she worked there in the afternoons, and then they became friends, and she was like, oh, you can come and get a job at my parents. Like, I feel like his sister could have performed every single function that he performed. And like, I was glad that he was there, but because he was there, I would have liked it if he did more. Yeah,
he needed to have a more active role in the mystery. And it would have been nice if like he had like gone through it with her, because I know there's a bit where he's like, do you not know? And like he's the first one to kind of break and be like, oh, I assumed you knew, kind of thing, to like make her question it, which was interesting, but it wasn't enough. It was still way too ambiguous. And actually something else that was kind of ambiguous was her friend that's like still back in LA or whatever, because like if you text me, Kelly, at 3:00 in the morning like 1,000 times, and I had like 3 or 4 missed calls from you, and then I was like, in the morning, are you okay? And you were like, I didn't send you anything. I'd be like, Kelly, your house is haunted. Or like, yes, you did. And here's what you said to me. Like,
or
I
if
wouldn't
I responded with, everything's fine. I love it so much here.
No. I'd be like, I thought you hated it there. It's like really hot and shit. Like, I wouldn't believe you. And I feel like the friend was just so quick to be like, all right, sweet. And I feel like they needed to be less close for me to believe it more.
And every time they spoke, it was just, they would like get on FaceTime. I don't know, maybe it's because for me, video calling with people is an event. It's not, I don't just, when I want to chat to someone, I don't just like video call them. But she would like FaceTime her friend, and then they would be like, hi, how are you? How was your day at school? Okay, bye, I'm going to go shower now. And it didn't, she would say like, oh, things felt a little bit awkward. But like, you didn't get off because it felt awkward. You got off because you have now been talking for 2 minutes and now you have to go shower. Like,
yeah, it was, I think you're right. And like, it should be an event because they're either sides of the continent now. Because like Maine is like way over on the east side and then LA is like west side, right? So they are polar opposites to each other. So I can absolutely understand them being like, oh, we're in different time zones, or we've just got different things going on. But then you would make an event of speaking to them. And yeah, it was just a bit, but I also appreciate that was part of like the isolation thing. And it's really hard because like there are so many times when in Gothic books they isolate them on purpose so that the story can happen, right? Because if she had people around her, they'd be like, oh no, that didn't happen. Oh no, that wouldn't have happened because she's around people. It's those moments where she's alone where it gets really, really creepy. But yeah, that text was especially really, really creepy. Also, it could have been sapphic. Interesting. I mean, I'm never anti making anything extra gay for the sake of making it gay. Do you know what I mean? I think that would have been great. Here for it. So, which in general would have just made it, I gave it 4 stars, I promise. This is the thing, right? We both started this by saying we both really enjoyed it. I just like to nitpick. So it'd be a case of like, I really enjoyed it, but here's all the things I'd change. So.
Have we discussed anything that we liked?
I think we just really yeah, we'll get there. So I feel like the bookshop boy was almost the personification of the good part of town. Yeah, that's fair. I think he was just human enough to be like, there's a reason to like hang around. And you know what? It's always nice when you move to a new place to be like, at least there's something to look at. You know, that's always nice. So
yeah, I just, like I said, I'm really glad he was there. I just really wanted more from him.
Yeah. It wasn't one of those things where like it bothered me when I read it. It's one of those things that bothers me now I'm discussing it. It
bothered me a lot, but is that just because I can't handle reading things that don't have romance? Possibly.
Maybe.
I know that you're all about the angst and the tension and the yearning, and I'm just like, that's fine as long as I get payoff. And I didn't get payoff. So I don't want yearning without payoff.
I don't want yearning without payoff. That's fair. I get that.
If I have to deal with 2 cute people being cute together, I want a kiss.
I think that's fair, especially because they were like at the dance together. No, not together. She was with her friends, but like he was there, right? Like
was he there?
I thought he was there. Did he not drive her home? Did someone else drive her home?
No, her friend drove her home because he texted her when he was at the dance and he was like, I've just finished the book. Do you not know the secret?
Oh yeah. Okay. Right. Like I said, it was a while ago that I read this. I felt like he was there. Don't know, but yeah, the Agatha Christie references. Speaking of earlier and shit talking Agatha Christie, how did you feel about them dropping the references and then explaining the references at the end? Because like one of those ones is literally that the whole town knows and she doesn't.
Yeah. So as soon as that came up, I was like, okay, well, I mean, we already know that a lot of people in the town know something that she doesn't. And that was when I was like, oh, it would be really cool if this was like some creepy, like insidious plot to keep her from knowing the truth. And then it was just like, oh, actually, we didn't want to hurt your feelings. And that really so I mean, like I liked the inclusion of them. I thought it was a fun touch that she was a mystery fan. And I also thought it made it, I also felt like that added to the, does she just have an overactive imagination, or are weird things actually happening? Because like, people that read lots of romance will read a meet cute into any situation. People that read too many mysteries will be like, oh, I'm alone in the house, someone's definitely going to come and kill me. Sorry, Danny, it's a globe.
It's a globe.
It's a globe, and it just has my ring light's reflecting off it.
That's so funny. I didn't even notice it. I was like too busy just staring at your twinkly lights behind you, just absolutely mesmerized. So yeah,
I didn't notice either. I just glanced at the comment and saw glowing, and I was like, they're just fairy lights. I don't remember what I was saying. I lost my train of thought.
If you read a lot of mysteries, you're going to read mysteries.
Yeah. So I kind of liked that she was a mystery fan, but also I liked that we actually saw her reading, because and she didn't just get the character trait of being a reader and then never pick up a book.
Yeah.
Because we know people love to do that. So I like the Agatha Christie inclusion. I just felt like more could have been done with it.
Yeah, I felt like I wanted either more references or better, like embedded references, rather than just her lending him the book specifically. I liked the fact that when she's talking about certain books, that she goes into the bookshop because she's looking for nicer copies of her book. Because isn't that a fucking mood to just go into a secondhand bookshop and try and find the exact same book you already have, but with a different cover? Like, especially if it is a classic that you know has multiple covers. Like, I was like, oh, Katrina Leno understands readers. Like, I loved that. And I loved it. It was such a tiny little detail that just added so much more to who Jane was as a person. I loved that. And the fact that she's like, okay, I don't have a lot of money, but when I do have money, I spend it on books that I've already read. And I was like, yeah, I'm here, absolutely here for that. And I was also really here for her picking specific books to like recommend to this boy that she's just met. I liked that. But like you said, she could have done that with her, like any of her other friends. That would have worked for me as well. I just like that kind of dynamic. But I feel like with Agatha Christie, some of the references are going to be way too obvious. They're going to be so super obvious because they're going to be the books that everyone knows. So like Death on the Nile or The Orient Express, generally people know what the plot twists of those ones are. And then some others, like the ones that she referenced, it's like, it's too ambiguous. I didn't know. And I didn't know if I wanted them explained more or if there should have been more references to make me go, it's fine that I don't know what these references are because they're going to get explained to me anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, I wanted Agatha Christie to become a bit more of her own persona. And I also wanted her to be less of a reluctant investigator, because I feel like if you are going to read Agatha Christie all the time, you are going to want to have a protagonist who goes out of her way, like you said, goes back to that doctor and goes, look, I know we've never met, but my mom's being really fucking weird about this house and I need to know information. And he, you know, all that doctor confidentiality, I can't tell you, but here's what the clues that I can give you. Like, even something like that, I feel like if you're going to reference a mystery writer, you have to have more of a mystery personality and like bet it in better. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Or just straight up reference classic Gothic books, because I feel like that could work too. She could have been a fan of Henry James, and I'd have been like, sweet. That also would have worked. So, but she does consume books on the bread. I thought that was really interesting as well. The fact that the thing that she eats is books. She's an avid reader and has very particular like taste. Excuse the pun. In books as well. I say excuse the pun. I knew what I was doing. Like, I was going to pun regardless. But yeah, so I quite like that. And I like the fact that all of the things that they eat because of Pika. They have, like, it has literary relevance. Like, Katrina Lennon hasn't just said, oh yeah, by the way, she also really likes to eat sponge just because she's like, she has that mental illness, as opposed to, no, it's specifically like, and she can feel the paper in her gullet, and some pages go down better than others. Like, that all added to just the general creepy vibe of the story, and I kind of loved that. So when we were saying earlier about like not being particularly positive, I loved how fucking creepy it was. I loved the tension. Like, the whole thing was really spooky, legit spooky.
I also like the I don't remember how early on we found this out, because I only picked up on it at the end. I don't know if it was referenced at the beginning, but that she speaks often about like all these journals that she has, and then that all of the journals were hand-bound journals that she made from the covers of the books that she ate. Amazing. I was obsessed.
Yeah.
That like even once she'd consumed them, she still needed to like. They felt like serial killer trophies. Like,
yeah.
She needed to like
Yeah.
keep them and turn them into something else that was special to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, that opening line, I can't remember what it was, but like I just remember being like, oh, that's horrendous, but I loved it.
I was not expecting that.
Where was it? Okay, obviously. Yeah, she couldn't remember the first book she had eaten. I'm like, all right, we're going straight in with the vibes. What it had tasted like, how it had felt, the scratch as it slid down her throat. I was like, yeah, this shit be creepy, and I loved that.
Yep.
She could have tried chalk instead of books. Imagine mildly yellow pages sliding. Yeah, I don't think that sounds particularly tasty, to be honest. But I did love how hella creepy it was. Actually, something that we have waited an entire 46 minutes to discuss, and it's on the front cover, is just how fucking creepy those roses are. Now, I like the smell of roses, but I specifically like the smell of yellow roses. I don't really like pink roses because they're just way too sweet. I don't mind a peony, slightly different. But whenever she talked about her sense of smell and the fact that these roses were like a cloying rose smell that just permeated everything she was in, she just smelled it everywhere. And the fact that it was like decaying and like really gross. Like, I felt that. Like, every time she mentioned smelling roses, I was like, I feel like I can smell the damp earth and roses. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a real kind of like, I was there, I was in it, I could smell it kind of vibe.
That was amazing, but it has just made me think of something. I really enjoyed how it added to the atmosphere. But like the first day that they're there, her mom goes and hacks down all of the rose bushes, which, okay, you're like, oh, she's just doing some pruning. Later on, it makes a lot more sense why she wants to get rid of them. But then they're like, grow back overnight, and she never cares about them again. The mom just is just like, oh, the roses will come back. Oh well.
Yeah,
I'm never going to try to get rid of them again.
Yeah. No, I would be like, if I knew why they were there, and if I cut them down on the second day they're there, and black, because they go from being like pink and red roses to black roses, which is, again, hella creepy. I'd be like, oh, we need to pull those up by the roots then. Like, cutting them back is not enough. And I love that her
just
argument
burn down
is
our
like,
backyard.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, you know, you cut them back so they grow back nicer. And I love that Jane's just like, I don't think you're supposed to cut them back in winter. I don't think that's when you're supposed to do it. I'm pretty sure that is when you're supposed to do it, because the idea is that then they bud in spring and stuff. But like the whole, I get why she's like, nah, there's something really weird about that. That whole thing was really creepy. But I think it's the inconsistency. Like, there was like, yeah, there were so many things she could have just dealt with it or just left it alone. I also thought it was really bizarre, like the injuries that they suffered that never seemed to like stick around, because at one point she like proper stepped on glass and then the next day she's fine, and it's like, was that in her head or is that something she actually experienced? Because they kept like, did they call the police in the end? I think they kept saying like, oh, if something happens again tomorrow we'll call the police, and never actually did. I kind of wanted to see some kind of police presence to like get involved with all the shenanigans that were happening, you know?
They called the police once. So I read this part 2 days ago. Do I remember what happened? I want to say it's like she gets out the shower and then she hears someone else upstairs, and then she goes downstairs and and then she thinks it's her mom, and then she goes downstairs and her mom comes home, and she's like, no mom, there's someone in the house, like I heard someone and you weren't here. And then they call the police, and the police come. So they call the police, then they grab knives and like drive away, and then the police come and search it, and they're like, oh, it's fine, there's nothing. And then she makes a point of saying, oh, we left the knives in the back seat of the car, and I was like, oh, this is gonna lead to something creepy, and then it just didn't.
Yeah, it kind of was like, just no, you're right, because I was like, did she? And I feel like at one point, didn't her mum basically tell her to like lie to them about what was seen or what she didn't see?
Her mum wouldn't let her talk to them, so she was like,
so
they get to the police station, and then her mum's obviously scared that the police are going to say something to her, so she's like, oh, I'll just go and tell them, and she's like, you don't know what happened,
you weren't there.
Like, it's fine, I'll just talk to them.
It's like, no, creepy. As a mystery reader, I'd hope she was smarter. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like they can't be too intelligent unless they work it out too quick, but also, Google exists. How quickly do roses grow back? Yeah, I mean, even Bella from Twilight Googled when she wasn't sure what was going on, so I feel like it can't be that difficult. But the roses thing, like, it was quite interesting because it's nice when you read something and it leans into like sensory description as well. I think I can't remember if there was a lot of description in general from this. I feel like a lot of it was very introverted. We were just kind of in Jane's head a lot of the time, and I didn't mind that. She binged. I don't know what that means.
Bella binged.
Oh, as in like binged, yeah. I was like, it's a miracle she found anything. That's true.
That's fair.
Cool. When you said binged, I was like, I don't even know what binged is. And then I was like, oh, you mean the search engine. Right.
At some point, my default search engine changed to Yahoo, and I didn't pick up that it had happened, but I tried Googling a few things, and I was like, why am I not getting any search results? Like, I think I was looking for a picture of a book or something, and like the book title that I was searching for wasn't coming up, and then I was like, oh, I'm on Yahoo. It was the first result.
They're like, oh, did you want to make this? No, I don't. Who does that? Who goes for Yahoo or Bing over Google? I understand people will use Firefox, but no, unacceptable. I don't know if I've got anything else, because I feel like we've kind of covered a large majority, but I don't know if there's anything else that I've missed that you can think of.
I don't think so. I think just overall, I really just enjoyed the atmosphere. Like, for all that we've managed to pick apart plot points, they're just on like an atmosphere level. It was exceptional.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I've got You Must Not Miss, which is another book by Katrina Leno, on my own TBR, and I'm quite excited to pick that one up to see if it has the same kind of creepy vibe, because I think it's older than Horrid is, so it'll be interesting to see like the difference in the two. Have you got any other Katrina Leno? Have you read Katrina Leno before?
And thinking back on it now, I'm seeing all of these plot issues, but I think in the moment as I was reading, I was so swept away by I was so swept up in the atmosphere, and like I felt like I was there, that everything in the moment made complete sense to me.
So would you pick up another book by Katrina Leno?
Yes. Sorry, was that what you asked?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, the sound cut out a little bit, so I thought you said, I'm looking forward to picking up another book by Katrina Leno.
Yeah, no, I absolutely would. And I did say that to begin with, because I've got another one on my shelf. I've got one on my eye as well. I hate that. But yeah, I just loved. It's the first time that I've read a modern ghost story horror for a slightly older audience, because the last one I read was Evelyn Jones, and that's for kids, and it was probably just as creepy, a far shorter read, And I think I like my ghost stories to be short and sweet, which this was, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, okay, so we didn't actually talk about the ending and the fact that Jane basically straight up becomes a murderer at the end. So how did you feel about that kind of, I don't even think we can call it grey morality. She straight up just decides to let Melanie die.
Yeah. She's like, I have time to make this choice, and I'm just going to stand here and watch her die. So this is what I was saying. I felt like I would have liked another 50 pages, and so I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read a lot of horror, so I don't know if that kind of pacing is normal in horror books. But then I was thinking about it after I finished them. I was like, that is pretty normal for horror movies. Like 3/4 of it will just be building up the creepiness, and then everything goes down in the last like 15 minutes. So the climax of it wraps up really quickly. But I just wanted that drawn out slightly more. Like she finds Melanie in her, like she finds the daughter, and then suddenly Melanie's in the house, and then suddenly they're outside, and then suddenly she's like, okay, I'm just gonna let her die. And I just would have liked that tension drawn up a little longer.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been more fun to see her interact with her sister on a more even footing before Melanie had rocked up. It would have been interesting to see, because at the end of the day, the sister, I feel like the sister had every intention of straight up killing her until she was like, oh, but actually maybe I won't be alone. I'll have someone to play with. Which she was just the creepiest kid. The creepiest. So I felt like, but I think that is very true of horror, is to have it all happen in like the last few pages. Like most thrillers, the second to last chapter is the most brutal because that's where everything gets tied up. But you and I have talked about this with regards to romance, where you're like, I love it when a romance is like all happy ever after. But then I want about 3 chapters after that where it's just them living their lives. So I feel like, Kelly, you just want more all the time. I think that's what you want.
That's true. That's true. But here, I can acknowledge that here, having anything past the ending, I think would have been overkill. With the exception of, I think the only way I wouldn't have minded it was like an epilogue of 2 years later, her just like still living her life happily and there having been no consequences for her actions. I think that's the only way that I would have been okay with it. So in this case, I think the place that the book ended, I was fine with. I just wanted the ending scene to last longer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree with you. I think it would have been really interesting to see, because there's another book called Anya's Ghost, which is about a young girl who discovers this ghost, and to begin with, they're really good friends, and then she sees this ghost is actually psychotic and is doing like these really like nasty things, and she finds out that actually it's the ghost of a killer. So it's really interesting to kind of like see her go from like this friendship vibe to, and it would have been really interesting to see her and have heard her sister's version of the story of like, oh, we were playing and it was an accident and everyone knows it was an accident. Have 30 pages of that, start to see the sister's facade drop, and then have Melanie come in and go, no, she pushed her, like she straight up tried to kill her. That would have been like probably a more shocking twist if we'd like grown to like this child, but she was just straight up creepy. We weren't really given enough time to like side with her.
And like Danny said, I wanted to see her corruption a bit longer. Like she went from going, oh, like you killed someone, you're terrible, to 2 pages later just being like, yeah, I'm a killer too. Whereas like with the child, you were told she did lots of mean things first, like that she was just a horrible child, and that kind of led to her eventually killing someone. Whereas, I mean, she has anger issues, she has violence issues, but we never actually see her being like mean-spirited at all.
No.
And then it's just like a snap where she goes, oh, this person stole my journal, so I'm gonna kill them.
Yeah. No, it was kind of,
that's kind of all. Like, apart from being mean to her, that's all Melanie really does to her. And to be fair, I can understand where she's coming from. Her sister has just died after spending her whole life in like severe trauma because her childhood friend tried to murder her. And yeah, like really, apart from being like pretty mean, really all she does is steal this girl's journal.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like you can understand like when they have their fight at school and like Jane just like goes ham. Like it's the first time everyone kind of sees her being super aggressive.
Yeah.
But it's still in reaction to something that is like bang out of order. And so like you can understand it, but it would almost be interesting to see her start to do that, like snap at people who don't deserve it. And then kind of, this is what I'm saying, like it would have been way more interesting if she started snapping at that boy and then he was the one that died, you know, because he was taking up too much of her time and the sister was like, nah, he's got to go. That would have been a really interesting and dark plot twist.
And yeah, like even the relationship with her sister, that within a page she goes from, oh, you did a terrible thing to I'm going to do the same terrible thing. Like I understand the parallel of I'm like we're supposed to be like the same person, so I'm going to end up following the same path that she followed. But like I said, like the sister had a progression, and she did turned a switch and became a killer.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I had this in me all the whole time. All right, well, we didn't know that. Yeah. I like Priscilla's comment. I actually had to listen to the last 15 minutes because I thought I'd missed it. I was like, that's quite funny. I wanted to see the jealousy of the sister. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see. She was creepy, right? But she only got like 2 or 3 pages of actual presence. I would have loved to have seen a bit more of her as well.
And I don't know if I would have found her as creepy if I hadn't just watched too much Supernatural and found little kids who wear cute frilly dresses generally creepy. If I have a child, am I absolutely going to dress her like that? Yes, I am. But is it super creepy in any form of media? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Like if I didn't already have that reference of children like this in books like this are automatically creepy, I wouldn't have actually found her sister creepy to begin with. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I would have, because I just find kids in general quite creepy. So
fair.
Don't trust it.
But I feel like these are us problems, not the way the child is portrayed problems.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point you're making. Yeah, no, I find any kind of fictional child and some real children legit creepy. It's why I taught secondary. Most real children. Making your child the creepiest child ever. Amazing.
Honestly, if my children don't look like they've just stepped out of the 1930s, I don't want them.
I don't want them. That's fair. Anything else you want to add then, or should we not discuss Mercies, but explain a little bit about next month's book?
I think I'm about done.
Sweet. If you've got a synopsis, I would love you to read it, because I have an ARC copy, so it literally just has like.
I also have an ARC, but a different one that does have a synopsis. I will go fetch it.
Excellent. This one is super, super short and just says, for publicity inquiries. It also says that it was £1.75 from a charity shop. So I love that for me. I did have a paperback, but it wasn't mine, technically. It was part of Waypoint, so I had to sell it for my like. But if anyone else has any more comments or questions regarding either Horrid or things you're looking forward to with Mercies, do let me know. I'm going to turn the spoiler thing off because we are done spoilering.
Oh, this one.
That's prettier than mine. Mine's very simple. And it's got a little boat on the back. That's it.
I find that very weird because, like, our ARCs come from the UK.
Yeah, I don't
really get the same ones you guys do.
Yeah, no idea.
Okay. Am I just reading the synopsis?
Yes, please. And also, Danny, I don't know if I did sell it to you. I think I sold a copy to you, but the one that I'd saved for myself, I sold to Ali. Anyway, sorry, as you were.
On Christmas Eve, 1617. This has Norwegian words in it.
Okay.
It's not going to go well. On Christmas Eve 1617, the sea around the remote Norwegian island of Vardø is thrown into a reckless storm. As Maren Magnus Datter watches, 40 fishermen, including her father and brother, are lost to the waves. The menfolk of Vardø wiped out in an instant. Now the women must fend for themselves. 18 months later, a sinister figure arrives, summoned from Scotland to take control of a place at the edge of the civilized world. Absalom Cornet knows what he needs to do to bring the women of Vardø to heel. With him travels his young wife, Ursula. In Vardø and in Maren, Ursula finds something she's never seen before: independent women. But Absalom only sees a place untouched by God and flooded with a mighty and terrible evil, one he must root out at all costs. So it is inspired by the real events of the Vardø storm and the 1621 witch trials.
I love that. See, I'm really excited for this because I love Kieran Millwood Hardgrave's writing style. I read The Deathless Girls, which is another great gothic one, and The Girl of Ink and Stars, which is a middle grade, and really, really enjoyed it. But I believe this is, so it says here that this is their debut adult novel, so their first adult novel. I'm really excited because I think anyone who goes from like middle grade and YA to adult is going to have like quite an interesting writing style in general, because they're going to have been used to writing in a certain way for a certain audience, and now they're scaling it up. So I feel like it's going to be really dramatic, probably really dark. And hey, who knows? Maybe someone will kiss just for you, Kelly. Yes.
There doesn't have to be romance. It's just that if there's a hint of romance, I would like some payoff.
That's fair. I would love to see a little bit of romance for you. Have any of our books got romance for our Lamentable library this year?
I don't know. I don't remember what most of the books are.
Well, because Pixie, it will make it a lot easier to find, because Pixie has just shared their spread thing.
Journal spread.
Yes.
Amazing. Because when I needed to check what our book was for this month, I had to go and rewatch my video because I didn't remember. Priscilla, it's the Mercies.
The Mercies, yeah. So I don't think so, because we've got Anna Dressed in Blood, These Violent Delights, The Burning Girls, Melmoth, Death Comes to Pemberley. I don't think any of them do.
And I
don't think any of them do.
If they do, it's like intensely dysfunctional, because I want to say that These Violent Delights has like some sort of pseudo romance in it, but not in a good way.
No,
and not even in like an enjoyably bad way. Just in a bad way.
Just in a bad way, for sure. But yeah, so if it's going to happen, I feel like it's going to happen in this one. So fingers crossed.
I am expecting a sapphic romance from this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one man, and he's terrible. So.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Deathless Girls is sapphic, so I feel like there is a high chance for that. And I'm here for it. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by this one, and I'm really intrigued to find out where this art came from, besides just the charity shop, because for it to have such a simple cover, obviously not like a press one. I feel like this is maybe like a pre.
Maybe. I mean, I know that they sometimes do like more than one run, or they just sometimes do different covers. It's just it happens. I feel like rarely, and it surprises me that they did it for this book. I think. I mean, they did like 4 different covers for Empire of the Vampire, or like the new Sally Rooney book that came out last year. I just wouldn't have expected them to do multiple editions of this.
Does yours have a man surrounded by water?
Oh, I thought it was a map.
I don't think it is.
No, but I have a map.
You have a map? I have like, yeah.
Oh wait, is that?
I think that mine is drowning.
Yes, I do.
Mine doesn't have a map. How sad. I do have a map.
My map is 2 pages before that.
No, mine is.
It's not a great map.
It's not a great.
It's just a map of Norway in the 1600s.
That's fair. But no, I don't have no maps. No maps.
And then the island. So this whole map, the island that our story takes place on, is that.
I'm not gonna lie. From this angle, that looks incredibly phallic.
I mean, I think from any angle it looks.
It was just the way you were holding it. I was like, that's yeah. And yes, just to clarify, it is not the Chloe Gong These Violent Delights that we'll be reading. Is it Dark Academia?
I think so. Yeah, I'm sure it's out of the college.
How exciting. Okay, well, in that case, is there anything you want to promote before I wrap up this live and click end podcast?
I mean, you guys should, if you aren't already, you guys should follow the Twitter and join the Discord. And then on a personal level, can I promote my new Instagram?
Please.
Okay, can I put it in the comments?
Yeah, or do you want to, like, if you can share it and I can put it there. But yeah, if you can put it in the comments, go right ahead.
Okay. I have a new... I'm going to remind you that I'm an old person. I need to be, like, on the YouTube thing to comment, right?
Yeah, do you want to post it in the private chat and then I can put it in comments because I can do it from here.
Cool. Yes, I have a new Instagram where I'm sharing my art journey and I'm very excited about it.
As am I.
So it is... I feel like you're more excited about the one that people are not going to know as me. Which is...
I just enjoy it. I like the fact that you posted the other day about how you're going to draw the same image every single day to show how your style changes.
I'm so over it.
I knew you would be, but I loved the fact that you were like, yeah, this is the thing that I'm going to do.
Oh, I've done 7 days of it and it hasn't been... I was supposed to do the same picture every day for 30 days. I've done 7 days. They have not been consecutive and I'm just like, I'm done.
You know what you need to do? You need to have like a bigger picture in mind and then just do a square of it every day for 30 days.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, I was thinking okay, so it's Velvet Creative Agency. Hannah's just dropped the link. But I have, I was thinking what I should do the next time I do it is draw the picture, then do the challenge, and then redraw it. Because at the moment, 10 minutes isn't enough to do the whole thing. So at the moment, every day I basically end up doing different stuff. But I want to keep it to 10 minutes so that it's a manageable thing to do daily. Mm-hmm. So then I figure, but like the line art gets better every time. So then if I did the whole picture and then did the whole picture again, then I feel like you would actually be able to see a difference. Whereas now I'm just redrawing the same picture 30 times. And I actually can't see the improvement really, like in the picture itself.
It's not long enough to like, yeah.
Yeah, I can see an improvement in technique, but I can't necessarily, if I put all the pictures side by side, like...
You can't tell the difference, yeah.
Yeah.
That's that.
So that was a very long-winded way of...
Anyway, yeah, everyone.
My new art Instagram.
Yeah, no, I would love to see a journey, so it will be there in the comments, and I will probably, if I remember, put it in the description after all this is wrapped up. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, sweet. Well, The Mercies is available via Waypoint. Next month's book is not because it just can't get it in through my distributor, which is annoying. But any links will be shared via the Discord anyway, and go feel free to treat yourself. But other than that, I hope everyone has a nice evening. And we'll be on Kelly's channel next month. So Kelly will have to come prepped with questions for a change.
Hello. I'm ready to questions in the back.
Yeah, maybe. Sometimes. Mine doesn't. Mine just has the history note.
Yeah, no, mine doesn't.
Okay, they'll have to be your own. Or anyone who has any comments. Please jump on that Discord and drop any questions you've got for us there as well. But yeah, okay. Well, I will click end and I will see you next time. So, awkward wave.
Bye.